And let us be the first to wish you a very happy Derby week and welcome you to this edition of our program, Moral Side of the News. We're here every week. I'm John Blim with the WHAS Crusade-For-Children. We have a panel and we have topics, so let's get started. The former president of the University of Louisville, James Ramsey, and other former members of the U of L staff face legal action. The lawsuit alleges that those named intentionally concealed improper expenditures and compensation packages. Plus, the new commissioner of the Kentucky Board of Education tours Jefferson County Public Schools. Is this the first step to the state taking over JCPS? We'll discuss these topics with our distinguished panel here today on our program, Moral Side of the News. With us today are Father Joe Graffis from the Archdiocese of Louisville, Dr. John Slider, Breckenridge Chapel Free Methodist, Reverend Sally McLean, retired Christian Church Disciples of Christ, Dr. Charles Burton, Second Baptist Church, Taylorsville, and Rabbi Emeritus Stan Miles, Temple Shalom. Up first on this edition of our program, Moral Side of the News, this week the University of Louisville sued the man who once ran the school. As WHAS 11's political editor Chris Williams reports, the Board of Trustees and the U of L Foundation say they're suing James Ramsey and others for misused funds, risky deals, improper expenditures, and compensation packages.
We're very careful not to try to bring anybody and everybody in. Many of people who frankly didn't have this information, didn't know what was going on, but were on the foundation board.
Those named in the suit include Louisville law firm Stites and Harbison, Dr. James Ramsey, the foundation's former chief financial officer Jason Tomlinson, and Ramsey's chief of staff Kathleen Smith. Ms. Smith's attorney called the lawsuit, quote, a disappointment for the community, insisting she's thrilled to finally get a chance to prove her case in court. An attorney for the former president released a statement accusing current foundation and trustee board members of zealously looking to tear down U of L.
Well, was there any talk of going to any of the authorities, whether it be the FBI or to state, the Attorney General?
Not to my knowledge.
Why not seek authorities' help in this as well, if you think that someone broke the law in taking money from the university?
You're asking a very sensitive question. I'll try to...
Well, that's kind of my job.
You're doing your job. Good. There have been conversations between the university and the foundation and some law enforcement agencies. Those discussions are ongoing. They're not ready for maturation just yet, but those conversations are underway.
And that was WHAS 11's Chris Williams reporting. We turn to our panel on our program, Moral Side of the News. Panel, beyond all these legal questions, do you think this is a good first step in cleaning up some of U of L's damaged reputation?
It's about time. It's about time. Those dealings and the golden parachutes and people making a great deal of money from this, that, and another thing, that has to stop. It has stopped, but for our new president of the university to continue and to be effective, these things have to be dealt with in a most timely manner.
I agree with that. It be done in a timely manner, and it needed to be done before the new president came on board, comes on board effectively. When you look, from president on down and the staff walked away with a boatload full of millions of money. When I look at the faculty, I think that's egregious. The faculty hadn't had a raise in I don't know when. But they demand that the faculty produce all the research. They demand also they have a doctoral degree in order to teach. And they won't pay them. I think that's egregious.
And also the students are burdened with tuition increase after tuition increase.
Yeah, and and even with that, it does not do anything to erase the deficit that the university's in. So they need to go after it and get it back.
Well, I agree with both of those, but you know, it seems to me that it's such a shame that it's come to this, that Ramsey actually built up the university, or we thought that's what was going on. If you walk or you drive around the complex, you see that a lot has been done. We know particularly with the sports arenas and things that are there now that he really gave his heart and soul to that. The problem is, when you do a play, Stan, it's usually thought that you can make a grand entrance, but your exit is the most important part. And the exit that Ramsey is making is truly tragic. I mean, that's a tragedy. And I'm really sorry that this is going on with the University of Louisville. And I hope that they put an end to it and the new president can press forward.
But unfortunately, his exit, he created his own exit.
Yeah.
I
Well,
agree
that's the
with
tragedy.
you. That's the
the
tragedy that he created his own exit.
He did.
It sounds like from the package that we heard that I'm not alone in admitting that I don't know a lot about what's going on other than what's sort of rumoring around the community and out there. And sir, I think, Sally, you express that it's a mixed bag. There were some good things that occurred. We just need to, and it's going to get a lot worse, all this suing and suing back and who knows. I mean, there was some discussion of law enforcement involvement. So we just need to brace ourselves for things getting a lot worse before they get fixed, I think.
I would agree that it seems to me that President Ramsey did a lot of good things at U of L. I was kind of very pleased by a lot of things. My dad taught there in the 50s, so it's come a mighty long way since those days. And of course, we've all heard about the sports and basketball, but we're talking about significant amount of money here. I think I saw a number of $42 million between loans and salaries and compensation and deals under the table. And that really, here's an institution that's trying to teach young men and women about character and build their character for their futures. To do all of that, it seems like who really loses is faculty, the institution. We even know as the Crusade-For-Children, the amounts of money that are asked from the University of Louisville really makes it difficult when so much money is being siphoned in other directions. So I was wondering when the shoe was going to drop. And I'm sure law enforcement will be involved in this at some point, but it's a very sad picture. But to straighten up University of Louisville and the new president, as you've said, who seems to be a very good choice, we've got a long way to go, but I think this is going to take years, unfortunately.
So my follow-up is, does this go far enough? And if someone is in prison, let's say, is that good for anyone? Is that just another bad mark on the university, or if we get that far, and it may be years away?
If you are guilty of a crime, you've got to pay the price. If you are tried and convicted and guilty of a crime,
I think restitution is probably the biggest issue that I'm concerned about.
And
now,
that will be helpful.
Right. And that's what we've got to see. That
somebody going to jail. I hearkened back when you said that. My thoughts immediately went to my classroom management class, and it's not necessary. You're not fixing something by sending somebody to jail, but there's the ripple effect of the punishment. No, you don't fix anything. There is no restitution in somebody going to prison, but there is certainly a ripple effect for those around, and hopefully that corrects or avoids future. I don't know if anybody's going to jail. Right. I just
wait a minute.
I agree
whoa. Yeah. Charles, you want to go ahead?
I agree in terms of this thing that restitution is what's necessary to try and put the university back in a solid financial position. At the height of this thing, they were letting go ahead, had to let go faculty on the university because they simply, unfortunately, did not have the money.
Sally, your question?
Well, I was going to say that we're talking about millions of dollars here. Somebody goes out and steals $1,000. There's no problem putting them in prison or jail or whatever. So, you know, if white-collar crime is going to be able to get away with it, then what are we saying to everybody else in the world, well, in the United States? What are we saying? I mean, that's incredible.
If they don't go to jail,
I don't think anybody here is saying they want somebody to get away with anything. We're not at that point where law enforcement is involved and where there's any criminal charge. There's just civil civil suits. I wasn't disagreeing with you. I think both instances would need to be punished.
I think one of the things that's so important is that Louisville has worked really hard to upgrade its image in the past decade or more, and to take pride in the university that we have. Louisville is unique to Kentucky because I see it as a more global community. And the University of Louisville has done some wonderful things, and we want it to do well. But we also, if it's been misrepresented and mishandled, then I think those people need to be accountable for that. Sure.
We're talking about, I think we're talking about really, I think two things. We're talking about the restitution, we're talking about, I won't say it in terms of punishment, but seeing that justice is done with regard to those who created it. And I agree on both, I'm in favor of both of those. But I'm really more concerned about the restitution and getting that money back. I was reading in the paper this morning talking about how much money was it, 55 million. That would go a long way. You know, they should not be allowed to keep that money. And I'm happy that the board, whichever board, from the foundation board or the trustee board, finally said, okay, we're going to see about getting that money back. And I think that when we talk about the image of the university, that goes a long way with improving the image of the university, that it's just not a place where anything can happen and nothing is done about it.
I think one of the things that I haven't always been, and this will deal with our second topic too, that the governor stepped in to change the board of the University of Louisville. Wasn't sure that was the best thing at the time, although the more I hear about it, they were not, the board as it was constituted at that time was not doing proper oversight. Now maybe they didn't get the right information, who knows, we'll have to figure out that. But I'm glad that the new board is taking a much more proactive response to what is an amazing, and it's gone on now 2 years now, so that nothing has been done about it. That this is perhaps a good first step. Where it will lead, we have no idea.
Sally, when you spoke about the global outreach of the University of Louisville, and it is definitely going in that direction, my thought immediately went to 2 years ago, around Halloween, when the president of the university had his party and everybody was dressed in serapes and Mexican hats and fake mustaches. And when I saw that, first of all, my heart went out to the people in the Hispanic community who were totally denigrated by that. And then I thought, this is just not the way that a president of a university should comport himself or herself whatsoever at all.
Very distasteful. Very.
All right, we're going to move on to our second topic on our program, moral side of the news this week. Jefferson County Public Schools continued to face a potential state takeover. As WHS 11's Holden Kerwicki reports, the person who will make that final recommendation, Education Commissioner Wayne Lewis, toured some JCPS schools for a closer look at how the system is currently managed.
Everyone can agree on the question.
How can we have positive impact on the 101,000 kids within JCPS?
The answer? That's where the disagreements begin. Kentucky Department of Education Interim Commissioner Wayne Lewis is in town visiting schools and meeting with JCPS officials. Lewis is expected to make a recommendation to the State Board of Education based on the management audit and his visit for state assistance, state management, or no action.
Realistically, I think you're going to see either some type of assistance role or potentially a takeover.
Former Jefferson County Public Education Foundation Director and school board member Sam Corbett has spent 30 years working with JCPS. He says the takeover option would mean the state would appoint a manager to take charge of the district, who would work with the superintendent and the school board, but would have the final say on decisions.
In effect, the school board would still be in office, but if they're not the final decision makers, it changes the realities.
Groups have rallied against the school takeover, saying Superintendent Dr. Marty Polio is making strides to improve JCPS and should get more time.
Yes, JCPS has many problems and issues that I am sure that Dr. Polio is taking into account, but he needs the chance to prove himself along with the board.
On the other side, the Kentucky Pastors in Action Coalition, which Kentucky Board of Education Chair Milton Seymour had been a longtime member of before being appointed to his current position, is advocating for a state takeover.
In 2009, up until now, 2017, the gap between black and white children has escalated. Folks, things can't be business as usual.
And that was WHAS 11's reporter Holden Kerwicki reporting. We turn to our panel on Moral Side of the News. The panel, obviously, this is complex. It involves politics. But the question is, who do you think knows better how to run JCPS? The superintendent and the board, or the state and a manager?
Superintendent.
Well,
Superintendent. I think it's unfair. It would be unfair. May not be the word. I can come up with the word I want to choose it. But I think that the new superintendent, he just took over. The school system did not get that way overnight. It took some time, and I think the new superintendent deserves an opportunity to make an effort.
Well, I think the first thing that we still haven't seen is there's the final audit of sorts, and I think once that audit is, and that will be published sometime, we would have a much better idea about it. But I agree with you. I'm very pleased to see Dr. Polio as the new superintendent, somebody's local, who's worked through the school system, has done a superb job when he was in J-Town and at, what's the other school that he was out in?
Was it Wagner?
Shawnee.
Shawnee.
And he was I think he was at Wagner and
Wagner.
Shawnee.
But I think he knows some of the situation. He has the confidence of a lot of the teachers. I would like to see him get a chance to do this. So I think a takeover at this point needs to be kind of, okay, if they don't do it, say a year from now or whatever time, but give them some chance over these next year or two to say, here are our issues, here's what we're doing about it, what we can do about it.
Because Wayne Lewis said he was looking forward to learning more about the district as the audit continues. So yeah.
And leadership happens from the inside out often. And he knows the system, as Joe mentioned, from the inside. He's been in several different schools. He knows probably the good things that have happened and the not so good things that have happened. And so I think he deserves a chance to continue with the support that he's built, because I think there is a lot of support behind him, and not have somebody come in and make and waive a decision and take it all away.
I really applaud Dr. Polio, and because he has worked his way up in the system, and I also applaud the wisdom of the school board in choosing Dr. Polio, and really limiting it to 2 candidates who are of our system. The list, several superintendents have been just not what our system needed, because they were not of us. They came in from Massachusetts. They came in from a distance. They didn't know about us. I think, I don't know whether this is universal, but I think in Louisville, you have to learn Louisville in order to be effective. And this is a step. We have a superintendent who knows us, who knows our children, and I'm really disturbed that the governor is moving in this direction at this point in time, not giving a chance. As I understand the conservative political philosophy, it's for less governmental control, not more. And that works for everything for our governor, except for the Jefferson County public school system.
Well, a conservative would say it doesn't mean no governmental control, it just means less. And not to disagree with anything about Dr. Polio or the current board, but it's not about them.
It's about results? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's about a systemic, long going on. That's a poor way of saying that.
Ongoing.
An ongoing, thank you, the issue and problem that reaches way back. It's not something that occurred just right before Dr. Polio came on board. I'm concerned with saying, let's give this person and the board, and Dr. Polio I have great respect for. I don't think it's about him. I think it's about what needs to be done for a large portion of our population that have been, I will say unintentionally, left aside, ignored. Their needs. The package, again, I keep using that term. I think there was a gentleman on there that was voicing some frustration that I would share, that the gap has been widening between some parts of our population and others. I don't think, I would encourage us not to make this about Dr. Polio, but to make this about what's best for the kids. Now, it may not be state takeover. It may not be state, whatever the moderate situation would be, the midterm situation. I think leaving things the way they are, in spite of Dr. Polio's abilities, is a recipe for disaster.
So you think this is a sharp stick from Frankfurt, led by Dr. Wayne Lewis, say, let's get this moving on, get going?
I think all of state government is involved in that. The governor, Mr. Lewis.
Well, I would somewhat echo that in the sense that I've been involved in public schools in different formats over the last at least 25 years or something like that. And I think a lot of these problems, the problems that schools are dealing with are so much more complex than they were even 10 years ago, certainly 20 years ago. Obviously, you've got the economic disparity in our city, racial disparity, but you've also now, with many new immigrants, Hispanic, all over the world, the complexity of teaching kids today, English as a second language, is much greater than it was 10, 15 years ago. And again, and I'm sure John would probably agree with this, the schools are asked to do everything when there's a lot of community things, issues in the homes that also need to be dealt with, and we can't blame the schools for all of that. So it's a very complex situation, and Louisville's unique in that because it's a melting pot of all kind of different cultures, where a lot of other parts of the state do not have that, aside perhaps from Fayette County, of course, which would have it to a smaller degree. So I think right now we've got some things set up. I think the state needs to watch and say, you're on notice, but we're going to ask you after the audit, here's A, B, C, D, Q, R, and F that need to be done with. Show us what you're going to be doing about these things, give you a year, 2, 3 years to show us progress on it. And if you don't solve it in that length of time, we are taking you over.
Okay, can I move on to this is the important third topic that we all want to cover.
Yeah, sure.
It's very important. For our third topic on Moral Side of the News this week, we want to take a moment and cherish a Crusade staffer, Debbie Billingsley, wish her a fond farewell as she begins her retirement. Debbie was the grants manager, here's some pictures from her recent party, who kept the members of the Crusade Advisory Panel here with us today up to date on the state of all grant requests and reimbursements. Beyond that, Debbie has been a patient, steadying influence who has made all of our lives better, I say, with her caring human touch. And panel, you all worked with Debbie. Your thoughts on Debbie Billingsley? We'll miss her.
It was so nice to come into the Crusade office and have such a warm, friendly greeting. And Debbie always acknowledged when we were here. She was wonderful when we were doing the hearings to say, Debbie, where are we? How much money have we spent? How much money do we have to go? So I really appreciate everything that Debbie has done. And wish her well.
I would echo that, and I think for us on the panel, and all of us here are part of the distribution of Crusade funds, as we're going through 238 grant hearings, sometimes I get a little confused. Where are we in all of this? And trying to get monies to the right place and what county's given this, all the information. Debbie was always,
always
within several seconds, she would know exactly the answer to our questions, which always amazed me because she's such a whiz with the computer. But one of the very valuable people, as all of the staff at the Crusade office are very valuable people, but we will miss her. Obviously, her successor, I think, has got a great start going already, being trained by Debbie, and she'll be a great addition to the staff as well. But Debbie, good luck, and to you and your husband both.
Debbie, I wish you well as you go into that fond area of retirement.
Whatever that is.
Well, I remember one of the last questions I asked, well, not one of the last, but on the last day, I think, that she was, she sits there in the panel, and the three clergy up in front and get to talk to folks, and she sits in the back and kind of is all making records and so on, and we'll look up and ask either Don or John or Debbie a question. I asked her once before a panel started. I said, "Was I on this last year, this panel?" I had forgotten, and she maybe pushed two buttons and said yes or no or whatever the answer was. I've forgotten the answer, but I mean, it seemed like she had a wealth of information just literally at her fingertips. And but you're right, she was always pleasant and calming.
Oh, yes.
Right. It's a good word. Yeah. Good word.
Not that we ever need calming when we do that.
Not that yin and yang get
I've truly never seen Debbie lose her temper. Never in my life.
No. And we're not going to talk about Gail, you're a Tom. No.
Just though it's present here today.
I've never seen Debbie without a smile.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just totally in control of the situation. And she is one of those wonderful souls who has helped make the Crusade the wonderful organization that it is. And through her work behind the scenes, she too has been a wonderful help to all of the special needs children in our Commonwealth in Southern Indiana. Every life we touch, she's touched those lives for good.
She's helped the process flow well.
Debbie embodies what my ethics professor used to tell us. She used to tell us that if you want to know what's going on in the place, don't ask the person that's in charge. Two people you need to ask. Ask the secretary and the janitor.
Absolutely.
Number one, the secretary, if you need to get something on somebody's desk, the secretary can put it right where it needs to be. If you need to get in any room, the janitor got the key.
Now, 5 clergy have said something. Debbie's still alive.
She's still alive.
She will be missed.
She will be missed.
But we'll go. She says she's coming, but she can come right back.
I just want to say she's one of the finest people I personally have ever met in my life.
Oh, thank you.
Debbie will be missed. Happy trails. Godspeed to you and Dennis.
Yeah.
And that brings to a close our program, Moral Side of the News. We wish Debbie and Dennis well. Reminding you, too, just 34 days from today, we begin the 65th annual WHAS Crusade for Children right in this very studio. And we hope you participate and be generous as you see firefighters and other events going on in the streets, to blue blocks and places where you can give money. Please be generous this year. Maybe $65 for the 65th would be a good way to say that. And please be kind and be generous. Thank you for watching and listening to this program, Moral Side of the News. You can join us again next week at this very same time. Until next time, good luck to Debbie and Dennis, and we'll see you then. Have a great week.